welcome to challenge day number 9. This is the daily creative challenge for XD. Hey everyone in the chat. Hey Laura and Unicorn and George. Welcome. Hi Chris. Good to see you guys. Say a little hello in the chat, maybe where you're coming from. I'm in sunny Long Beach. Actually, today is not so sunny. It's a little gray outside. And I'm your host. I'm Elizé. I'm an Adobe XD Enterprise instructor, and I create content on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all about making design education simple, easy to understand, and a good time. So let's take a look at my screen, what we're working with today. This is the Daily Creative Challenge landing page where you're able to enroll into the challenge with this big blue button right here. From there, you're going to see all of your challenges. We've seen like what, now seven challenges unlocked now. Who's completed all of them? Props to you, and props to you whoever thinks that they're gonna complete all of them. I didn't mention this yet, but this is actually going for 4 weeks total. We've been live for the last week and a half. It's going to replay. You have actually 2 more weeks to complete this challenge. So if you're looking at this and like, oh my gosh, 9 challenges, I haven't even done the first, don't worry, it's all good. You have plenty of time to complete them. This is the one we're talking about today, mobile first. The Get Started button is where you're able to download the design file that I've created that I'm showing here. And then below is where you're able to download Adobe XD for free, as well as join the community chat, this Discord chat. So this is what Discord looks like. And in the challenge channel, this is where you're able to upload your designs and get feedback from the mentors, get feedback from other people in the community, as well as give feedback as well. There's also tons of little channels you can check out, tips and tricks, portfolio reviews, introductions that you might want to also check out as well. Let's take a look at some challenges that you guys have submitted. George, are you in Southern California too? Where are you at? Hello, Ashafru. Yeah, nice to see you guys all in here. So let's take a look at, who shall we pick? Oh my, Annie Yang. I love that you put your design in an actual watch. How cute. If you're in the chat, Annie, or if you're even in Discord, why don't you let us know how you did that, how you put it in there? Because I know tons of other designers are gonna wanna probably mimic this, be able to put their designs in the actual device. So did you use a template? Did you create it yourself? Oh, we got a video here as well. Oh, we've got some animations. Did you use a Lottie? Did you? Oh, is that another Lottie? If you guys missed Lottie's, that was another session that we did. What week was that? Maybe that was day 5 or 6 or something like that. We have Yu Yang here. Oh, I like this. Very simplistic, clean. We talked a lot about how watch design, it's really important to be very simplistic in your designs. So this is really great work. Let's take a look at one more. Ilham, yeah. Ooh. Wow, you look at that reaction. I love the additional things that you added here and the visuals that you've added as well. It really pops. Very simple, clean, easy to understand, easy to read. All the great things that you need for creating designs on such a small screen. Okay. Hello, you're in Redlands. Hey, from Redlands. Hello, Rolando from Chino. Hello. And from Tunisia. Wow, welcome. So cool to see people from all over the world. Let's look at the design file I'm working with today. We are talking about responsive resize, mobile first, and we are going to seamlessly go from a mobile design to a desktop design. So we have been covering 2022 trends. This is another trend that's going to continue, which is the mobile first design. You guys have probably heard of this at some point, but I want to talk about what is it. What is mobile first? If this is the first time you've heard this, it's basically when a designer is going to begin designing on a mobile device and then designing for larger screens afterwards. So the smallest design, our mobile designs, have the essential features because we have to really limit ourselves to what can we fit in a mobile design. We can't have all the bells and whistles, all the beautiful imagery, right? What is the core essential needs for our product or our designs? And then we can move up from there. So mobile internet use has outgrown desktop internet use. That's why we want to be really conscientious of our mobile designs and that experience. Hello, Felipe from Mojave and Sydney, Australia. Hello, Alberto. So I want to give you a couple of best practices before we get started in mobile first design. We want to think about making our designs at most using two columns. So let's look at this first example. This is one column. See, just one. Everything is stacked on top of each other. And then in this design number 2, you see there's 2 columns. We don't want to go to like 3, 4, 5 columns. It makes it much more challenging to read, to glance, etc. So we actually want to use 2 columns at most. Another best practice is typography. We need to make sure it's not too small, that people can actually read it. And so there are different standards from different organizations. Apple suggests that you use a 17-point font minimum for body font. That's like the font that's used most commonly, most often for paragraphs, things that you have to read throughout versus the heading, let's say. So this could be a heading. This could be kind of more the body font that's used all over. So we want to at least aim for around a 16, 17-point font for body. Also, we want to use larger hit targets than desktop. So because the finger is fatter than the cursor, right? We need to think about, okay, we need to make our buttons a little bit larger. Anything that's clickable, tappable is a little bit larger so that the finger can actually click on it and it doesn't actually accidentally click something else. And then finally, you want to test on a real device. See what it actually looks like. And what XD offers is this ability to look at your designs as you're designing. So as long as you connect to your phone, you can just use a USB to connect from your computer to your phone. You can actually connect on, it says it right here, device preview. This is how you can connect and you can see your designs in real time. So you're like, oh my gosh, that mobile font is way too small or way too big. So that's a great way to make sure your designs look good. So let's talk about mobile first. This is the designs I've provided. This is actually the exact same design style, formatting and everything and layout as a very large e-commerce brand that I've worked with. So I wanted to use something that a design that is fairly common. It's straightforward. It is nothing too embellished or anything like that. And responsive resize is an Adobe XD feature that works really well with more simplistic designs like this. So I want to show you first what it would look like if we did not use responsive resize, that feature. So you would probably do something like this. Maybe you'd put it to 1200. I'm going to do it really fast initially, and then you'll just see, just work with me here. I'm going to do it fast, and then I'll do everything in slow motion for you guys after as we design it. So imagine first, this is the original experience you would have to have. You'd have to take every layer, expand it. Then you'd have to take this font here, maybe make it like this. And it's not like the end of the world. It's not, it's gonna maybe take you 6 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to do something like this for a design, right? Something like that. Expand it, move everything down, etc., right? But we have responsive resize. So let's see the power of it. I'm gonna move kind of quickly for this. So here I've already made I'm gonna show you step by step how I sort of prep a mobile design so that it's so easy to move into responsive resize. But to show you how it works, over on the right hand side, I've enabled responsive resize. So I am going to now type in the width 1200 in my property inspector. Now you can see already automatically things have adjusted and it looks looks pretty darn good, I would say, right? But there's additional things that you can do to even make this experience better. So I've made this a component. And if you don't know what a component is, I'm going to cover it in just a second. But basically, I'm able to replace components. So if I drag and drop that component in, ooh, that's not the one. If I drag and drop this component, you can see that it replaces. Oops, I did not make this the right size. I want to make this 1280. There we go. That's fine. So then from there, I can also, I've turned and enabled a feature called stacks as well. So if I decided I want to make this image longer, it's actually making all of the content underneath move down as well. I've also changed and created certain desktop style characters, so I can do this and change those out, move this about. Right? So I can actually make this whole process even faster and easier if I prep my design file. So let's break all of that down together. Just simply starting with my mobile design. I've already just laid out a couple of things here. One is the navigation up top. So I have a logo, I've put in some icons, and in here, if you guys want to find icons, you can use the icons for design plugin over here if you need help finding that. So that's this one right here. If someone could place in to the chat how you can find plugins or how you can download plugins. So I've placed those in, and now I want to make it a component. I just simply need to have these layers selected. So I can just select all of them, and then I'm gonna go over into the right hand side and make it a component. Okay, so then from there, this is now a repeatable element. If I make a copy of this and I want to change this color of the logo to this like light gray, any replica of that main component is gonna also change, right? So that's the power of components. So I've made this now a component. I've laid out an image and some text, and I'm going to show you actually some of the best practices within XD for when you're moving from mobile to desktop. We've talked about the text tool before, right? Over here on the left-hand side, I can select T for text, but instead of just tapping and clicking into it and starting to type, I'm actually going to do something a little differently. So instead of that, I'm going to select still T for text, or selecting it right here in the toolbar. And instead of typing, I'm just going to select and drag a little like text area. And this is where I want my text to go, and I don't want it to bleed off to the right or left. So if I start typing, it's just going to start to move down instead of off the page. You can also set this over on the right-hand side in your property inspector. Right here, there's like little your text options and where you can make edits and changes there. But over here's what I'm looking at. This is now on auto height. There's auto width, there's auto height, but auto height allows it so that it just keeps going down. It doesn't go off the page. Okay, so I'll show you that again. If I do auto height here, so then if I just keep typing, it's going off the page, and I don't want that. It's not going to be so great when I move into desktop. Okay, so that is best practice for like XD, is doing that little text box there. Okay, so I can do that. I can say like shop, office, supplies now, or whatever I want to say. I'm definitely going to want to change this font to something smaller. Maybe it's like a 24. And I'm just going to center that there. Okay, so now I'm going to place in an image. I can just throw in a rectangle shape. And this is kind of just per usual. There's nothing different about this experience. I can go into my plugins and select an image. If I want the background, if I wanted to have that like dark color, I can also choose to change the opacity so the background color is showing in more for that kind of like moody vibe. And then down below here, I've already started a little rectangle shape here for a grid. And if you recall, one of the best practices I mentioned earlier was doing a 2-column grid. I can go into my repeat grid over here and drag this over to the right and then drag it down. And then I can just like select images and replace them here. Like so. Oh, yeah, thanks for sharing some of those guidelines in the chat, guys. There's tons of resources on mobile first practices, but if you want the one that I'm sharing, the deck that I've made, I've been putting them in the Discord channel right here under tips and tricks. So you will see my decks right in there every day. I'm placing them in there. All right, so now that I have that set up, the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to get my character styles set up. So this is what you consider your H1, the largest text on your screen. And over on the left-hand side over here at this top left corner, this is where all my document assets live. So colors, my components, characters I'm using. And it's great to add them here. And I can like even double click to put this as mobile H1. It's because if I make a change, if I right click, edit, and I make a change, it's going to make that change across my whole design file. It's going to change that H1, which makes it really easy when I want to make a little adjustment. I don't have to do it over and over and over again. So that's why I've added it there. I'm also going to do the same thing here. This is my mobile H2. And again, this is how I'm prepping my file. I've made my component here. I've got my character styles here. I used the auto height here for the text. And then I'm finally gonna do one more thing. This is like something if you are feeling a little more comfortable with XD, I recommend this. If you're not, what I've just did is perfectly great for you to get started. Oops, this is my mobile H2. And this is my mobile H2, yay. So something I'm gonna show you now is stacks. And what this allows me to do is I first have to select everything on my artboard in order to enable it. Selecting everything and then also actually making it a group. So selecting everything and then making a group. Once something is in a group, then you can turn on stacks right here in your property inspector. And the reason's like, okay, well, why? Why do we want to do this? What this does is like, if I remove something like this image, do you see how everything just like moved up? Right? Or if I wanted to even add something in here, let's say I'm gonna add something in there. I can add into my groups, there. I can change the spacing between my different objects within that group. So you can add and remove things and it's just automatically keeping that spacing between the elements for you. And again, this is another helpful thing to prep my file when I go into desktop. Okay, now we're ready to get into desktop. Let's do it. So I have this selected. I'm gonna make another version. This is gonna be for the desktop. I'm gonna turn on responsive resize over on the right-hand side. Then in the width, I'm gonna change that to 1280. And you can see like it looks pretty decent, right? It's like, okay, it's done like 50% of the work, 70% of the work maybe, but I need to make some adjustments and changes. The first thing I would do is I'm going to replace that component. I've already created a desktop header. If you are working in a design file and potentially you are working with a company and you're reusing the same header over and over, you're already gonna have these assets. You're already gonna have that navigation you're using again and again and again. So we're gonna pretend like we've already made it, but maybe you have to create a new one yourself. But once I've replaced it, you'll see that because I have stacks on, everything just moved down. I didn't have to move everything down. Oops, I have two of these in here. And then let's remove that guy. This one? Yeah. So then from there, I can go into my character styles, and I'm going to change this one, this text, to my desktop H1. And I can move it. This is a component here that was for mobile, but I want to change it to desktop. So I'm just going to replace it with my desktop component. So again, like if you're new to this, if replacing components seems overwhelming, don't worry. This is more if you're familiar with components, you've been doing these practices. And if you're new, you can just play around with turning on responsive resize and just seeing how it works and how it automatically sets those constraints for you. And then you can make the adjustments yourself as you go through. So here, I might change like the spacing between my different elements, but what I want to show you here is the repeat grid. I can bring this down. Maybe I want it to be something more like this. This is where it looks kind of wonky, but don't worry, bear with me here. I want to make this bit bigger for mobile, but you see how it all like comes on top of each other like that? Don't worry, you can still change the spacing between your different elements like so. And I can change the spacing here. So you just kind of like move that there. Then you can decide, you know, if this is like something scrollable or is it going to just be stacked like this on top of one another. You can decide what makes sense for your design here. Then I can do something like that, right? Move this spacing. Move that guy a little. This guy, something happened with this little guy. What you doing in here? Let's see if I can troubleshoot this live right now. What I think happened is I copied and I pasted this and it's not in the group. So that's kind of what happened is I accidentally, it's not in this group here. So if this happens to you, you can place it into the group, but then it's like, where did it go? You can just bring it and then drag it to where you want it to go. And then it should work okay. Let's change this to desktop H2. And I want to just change the spacing between those elements there. And there we go. So yeah, if that happens to you, just make sure, because that's why stacks is a little trickier if you're brand new to work with, because there are these little things that happen like that can be like, wait, what just happened? And that's okay, just play around. It's just for fun. We're just practicing a little bit of this, prepping our design files, getting used to the feeling of turning on responsive resize, getting used to the feeling of going from mobile to desktop, and what is that experience like? You might even, like if you have the time, practice doing it without responsive resize and then trying it with responsive resize. And again, I just think of it as play. We don't have to think of this so seriously. Like we're just designing and adding pictures and text on a board and having fun. So that's what I recommend is finding ways to make it interesting for you. Feel free to use the design file I've provided or just starting scratch with like a design that interests you. I would think about e-commerce because typically e-commerce are a bit more simplified in their designs. And that's a great starting framework for you guys when you're starting to play around with mobile first design. Okay, so finally, we are going to want to share designs. And for this design, you probably are just going to want to share the images. And you can select the artboards that you want to export. You can go to File, Export, Selected to download those images. You can upload those into Discord as well as you can upload them into Behance so that we can all see your designs. Here on the upper right hand side where share your work is, you can select project. From there, you can upload your images from there. And you can go into settings and then put XD Creative Challenge as the tag so that we can find it. All right, the last thing you can do if you want as well is you can click the little share link and then it's going to create a link right there for you. And from here, you can actually click onto the button Behance, and it's going to initiate opening up Behance and already opening up that whole ability to add your tags and to add any images and text, and then automatically put it onto and publish it on Behance for you. Whew, okay, that's all the things. That was a heavy one. That was more challenging. This is actually one that I do a lot for enterprise companies and marketing teams for them to understand how to like really streamline their workflow. So it's a bit more advanced, but I hope you guys still have a fun time trying it out. I'm excited to see your guys' designs tomorrow for Pajama Jammin' Friday. Okay, that's what tomorrow is. Come in your pajamas, and I'll see you guys there for the final stream. Bye.